Welcome back
to another week
and another episode.
We are continuing on with our Build From Within series, and the next thing we would love to discuss is leaving old versions of yourself whilst you're growing into new versions of yourself, which it can be quite a complicated process sometimes, leaving behind those old versions and just growing into who you are destined to be next. And I think after putting so much work in, from like changing your mindset, growing from within, really putting in the mental work, a lot of times we get stuck by, okay, now we're a new person or new version of ourselves.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable.
We don't want to let go of who we were and who we are.
Exactly. I think the hardest part of growth is the grief that comes with growing out of certain spaces, growing out of certain friendships or relationships or careers. And it's frustrating because those are things that you at some point in time really, really, really wanted, and you worked really hard for them, and then they just don't align with you anymore. And I think there's a part of that makes you feel very guilty, and there's a lot of shame in that. But also there's a lot of I want to say pain and frustration in that, because we worked so hard to achieve those things and to become that person and to build that career or whatever it may be, and then at the end of the day it just doesn't align with who we are anymore. And now, actually speaking about it, random things just pop up in my brain from past situations that I feel like I've put a lot of work into, and then after a few years realize, you know what, maybe this is not what I want to do. And there's a lot of freedom in realizing that, and peace in realizing that, but it is tough. And I think the grief is something that you kind of deal with for a while, depending on obviously how big the change was. There's so much beauty in that growth as well.
Yeah, and I think something we need to remember is, as our life progresses, as we go into new roles or step into new roles, new responsibilities, start new journeys, whatever, you are required to be a different version of yourself. And not necessarily that you let go of your morals or the main, foundational things that will make you who you are. It's just you are required to be in a different mindset, in a different space.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we work into a different role, again, you're building on that mindset, you're building on from within. So letting go of who you were is helpful for your next stage. It's so beautiful, actually, that we can ebb and flow like that.
Exactly.
And, be prepared for what's to come next.
Yeah, 100%. So what really comes up for me when I think about outgrowing old versions of myself was when I, growing up, I had this extreme dream to work in corporate, build a solid career in corporate and be comfortable and make money and, that whole shebang, and be this, I don't know, boss lady. I always thought, for example, it would be you are top of the food chain if you work in Sandton, right? And that's where you want to be, and that's where you want to get to, and whatever. And I was really blessed with a really good job in Sandton, and being there felt like, you know what, look at me go. I'm achieving all my dreams. I'm building myself up in corporate, within the company. I'm growing. I'm challenging myself in every way possible. And it was amazing. And the growth that came from that was insane. And I literally felt like this is exactly this, I'm literally achieving my dreams one step at a time here, and everything is just falling into place, and it's perfect. And I did that for about 2.5, 3 years, and I just realized this is not, it's not what I want necessarily for my life. Even maybe in the future, but not right now. It doesn't align with what I believe life should be. It doesn't align with what I think is important in life. And it kind of makes you take a step back and think about it more intentionally, and be what am I actually doing? These are the dreams that I always had. This is what I always wanted to build, and I'm doing it right now, but now it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. And surely there has to be more out there. And that's obviously a big reason for why I left. And there were so many other things that then I wanted to pursue and do and build. But with that came so much grief, leaving that job, leaving the life that I thought I wanted to live. My life was kind of planned out, and I knew exactly where I wanted to be and what I wanted to build and
how success looked for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then I left that space, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm literally leaving exactly everything that I wanted for such a long time. And now I'm making the decision to leave. What am I actually doing? But not only that, you grieve so many parts of you throughout that process. I mean, I was grieving those dreams. I was grieving the life I wanted, that version of success that I created in my mind. I was grieving the relationships that were ending because of You obviously build relationships and friendships with your coworkers, and those things are not really, I don't know, you're just not in the same space as it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you grieve
a lot.
You grieve a lot throughout that process, and every now and then I'll still feel that, and then I'll be like, no, see, look at how far you've come, look at what you've built, whatever. And I think it's okay to grieve that. I think it's good to grieve that. But that's an old version of myself that I outgrew. And maybe that changes, and maybe I build up to that point again at some point in time, and that's what I want later in my life. But that's the beauty of growing, figuring out what you want, understanding yourself, how do I explain this? We change so many times throughout our lifetime, and our dreams change, and our priorities change, and version of success changes, and there's so much beauty in being able to change that and also chasing whatever that is. But I think it's just a natural progression of things. You have to deal with the grief of outgrowing those spaces.
100%. And I'm going to just ride your wave, because I phoned Danelle last week. Yeah, I phoned her because exactly the same thing. Like, I've been out of teaching now for 3 years this year, which is insane to think. Or we're going on 3 years. But still, that first week of school, like every year, I'm like, I really miss, and kind of like in a way grieve, that excitement. And there's something special about that first week of school, in my opinion, for children, for teachers, for everything. Okay. And I told Danelle this year, I just reminded myself of like everything I was able to do, because I'm not in that space anymore. And again, as you said as well, like there's nothing wrong with that space. But naming off all the things I've been able to achieve in the last 3 years, because I'm not there anymore. I've grown into a new version. I've grown into into different qualities of myself I couldn't express there. It was like there's so much change and so much growth. The person I'm now would never survive in that space.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that space wasn't good or like happy in the time. In
that chapter of your life.
Chapter of my life.
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm like, I miss that. But then looking forward, you're like, wow, I could do so many amazing things, and I can still do so many amazing things in this new version, this new exciting time of my life.
Exactly. Yeah. Dreams just change, and that's okay. There's so much beauty in that. But it's not necessarily an easy.
No, it's definitely not
easy thing. Yeah. The one that I usually struggle with is also letting go of the labels that I've put on myself, but also other people have put on me. One that I've connected myself to and other people have connected me to is the people-pleasing one. Yeah. I think there's this expectation for certain people, because I've always been such a people pleaser, that I will drop everything and I will be there and I will show up. And don't get me wrong, as a recovering people pleaser, it's a little bit triggering when people expect that of me, because I'm like, yes, that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I'm like, oh, no, take a step back. What do I need right now? What is going on? Do I have something that's more pressing, or whatever? Obviously, they're just like setting those boundaries in place. And it's really hard for me to let go of that label, especially when it comes to certain people that I've always been like a massive people pleaser to. So dropping that label is a hard one for me, because there's so much guilt and shame that comes with that, to not showing up for my people like I used to. And I know that I'm still showing up a lot and I'm still doing a lot, but it's still like, it just makes you feel like maybe I am in the wrong here for setting this boundary, or for not showing up like I used to, and like putting myself on the back burner. And so that's a big one, is like letting go of labels, letting go of expectations from other people.
And it can be in so many ways. Like there's so many labels that people can put on you. Yeah, I think it's hard, because we build our identity a lot like from the labels we've put. You categorize yourself. So I've always been an overachiever, or I've always been this, and people know you like that. That's
what they expect from you. Yeah.
And then in the same sense, like when we grow into new versions, especially when this version is changing jobs, creating new dreams, or whatever the case is, like life changes where people can physically see it. I think there's a lot of shame in a way of like that you've changed your path, because you've always sold yourself as this person. So I remember very vividly, varsity, I was studying teaching. I sold myself as I want to be a teacher. Yeah. And so kind of having to backtrack and explain to people, actually decided to change that up. Yeah. It's kind of like it shouldn't be shameful. You shouldn't feel guilty for it at all. Like really, we shouldn't. But there is kind of this like feeling of, I haven't been lying to you, I promise. It's just like, I've decided on something new and something different, Yeah.
So I went through the same experience there, and it was also because I was building a life that made sense. I was building a level of success that made sense, a traditional way of like level of success or vision of success. And everyone that like a part of my family or like friends and family that question me leaving corporate. It's like, what are you even doing? Like you're literally leaving a solid career and life that you have ahead of you to work in fashion. Like, are you actually stupid? So I think there's a lot of shame that was connected to that as well, because obviously the traditional way of life, the traditional career and the traditional version of success is what we all wish we wanted. And you basically like setting your life up for success if you chase that. And so I felt a lot of shame moving away from that and having that question. And I think we've spoken about it a lot. When people ask you, so what do you do for work? Hate that question.
We've said this is probably one of the most like triggering questions.
Exactly, because we both had very traditional jobs and a traditional life ahead of us in those spaces, and we both like moved away from them, made life quite hard for ourselves, but at least our hearts are happy.
We're super happy. Yeah.
No, 100%. So
but it's difficult to explain to people sometimes. I think like, and this is what we mentioned when we talked about it way back in our episodes, but I think we should just re-mention it. Is it's so easy when you're in a conversation, especially for like someone like me who doesn't like attention I don't like talking about myself in the conversation. It's easy to say, I'm a teacher, and people are like, okay, cool. And they kind of know what's happening, no further questions, we can just continue on. Where when I don't say that and I have to explain, it's kind of as if people start having questions and they ask more. And when we said that, like in the previous episode, we talked about this, but also, it's still happening. It's like, don't ask us because we don't know.
Exactly.
If you're going to ask me a bunch of questions, like half of those questions I'm still figuring out, which is completely fine in the context we are. But it's frustrating when I know you want answers and you're probably like, why doesn't she know?
Yeah.
I wish I could explain, but I can't.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also you feel so much judgment and like shame in those conversations, because you're like, this person is now judging me because I left the safe space to do something crazy. I don't have the answers to these questions. So obviously this person is judging me because I left something, I'm doing something else that I don't even understand. So surely I made the wrong decision. But technically that is only perceived judgment. It's because you are insecure in the space that you're in, because you haven't perfected it yet, or you haven't achieved success through it yet, or whatever it may be. So it's perceived judgment from someone asking questions. It's perceived judgment from someone like looking at you a bit crazy because
why are you doing that?
Why did you leave the safe space to do something that was creative, you know? So once again, I think it's a good reminder to say it's only perceived judgments. And I think you feel a lot of shame through it, you feel a lot of guilt through it, but it's only perceived.
You don't have to,
And you shouldn't. It's a mindset, like it's a choice. It's a choice that you make to be insecure in that decision. It's a choice that you make to not fully back yourself. And that's also what I've learned through this experience is if someone asks me that question now, I'm a lot more confident in explaining that, because if I lose my insecurity in that space, people also don't have doubts, if that makes sense. Does it
makes complete sense,
And actually like showing up and looking confident and saying, this is my life now, people are like, wow, look at you go. And you don't have to oversell yourself. You don't have to undersell yourself. You just say what you do and move on. And technically, you don't have to answer questions.
No, I agree.
Something that really came up for me while we were planning this episode was grieving different versions of myself in different chapters of my life, obviously. And I've spoken about my memory loss a few times, but just to give you a quick rundown, I started experiencing memory loss at probably around 16, 17, and it kind of got worse until the age of 21, 22. It's gotten a lot better and I've got a lot of help for it, whatever, and I've really processed it to an extent. But it's a very weird concept because there's three parts of memory loss. And so the first one is dissociation, the second one is memory loss, and the third one is identity crisis, right? And because you forget all these memories, you forget what you did, you forget like people, whatever it may be, you also forget who you are. You don't really have like a base of who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you, what do you want in life, whatever. And so identity crisis was one of the most painful things for me to go through at that point in my life, because like I have no idea what I want. Those are like developing years of your life, and you have no idea what are you chasing, who are you, what are you doing, and you're just there, right? And so it's kind of hard for me to put it into words as to like what that looks like. a lot of identity is based off memories and who you are and who you've been and experiences you've grown through and people you've been surrounded with and so on. So if you don't have those memories to build that identity and who you are now, it's kind of hard to figure out who you are and what you want,
To
right?
develop that self-image or self.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's a lot of grief that comes with that because I don't know who I am, and the memories that I do have feel like they don't really like reflect who I am or who I want to be, and they don't really align with me. And so it's this weird balance of grief, the things that people say you are or that you believe about yourself in quotation marks don't feel aligned with who you actually want to be or who you feel like you are right now. And then also just confusion about what am I actually doing? I have no idea. So it's just very weird phase of not being able to grieve who you once were because you don't know who that was, right? And then trying to build something from that and building a life from that and building dreams and building
your whole life
and your whole perspective on life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Back to something that actually makes sense. And so the reason I'm telling this story is because I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to figure it out and understand ourselves and to know what we want and chase that and you know, set a dream for yourself or set a goal for yourself and chase that until you achieve it. And then like you should be happy, right? But the beauty of it is that changes, and there's so many things that change throughout our lives that will change the trajectory of our lives and our careers and our relationships and whatever it may be. And you're going to change multiple times throughout your life and you're going to be 20 different people. And that's cool and that's beautiful. But I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to stay that one version. But unfortunately, if there's any growth involved, you will not stay that person. And I think it's unfortunately, but also fortunately, because we have to go through life. We have to grow through all these experiences and build onto who we are, what we want to be, and build into the person we were destined to be.
We don't realize how big factor our our memories and our previous ideas of ourselves, you know, like everything we've been through really affects who we are becoming, you know, and where we're going to. So yeah.
I think the biggest thing is we put so much pressure on it. And then it's so scary to step out of that space to say, but this is what I always wanted. How can I not want this anymore? But I think we should just have so much grace with ourselves. There's so much beauty in changing your opinion and growing and trying something new or whatever it may be. Let's actually chase those different experiences. I have just a question that I saw the other day, right? Was if you have a choice to go to heaven right now or to live the rest of your life and stay here and then only go to heaven after you die, right? What would you do? And it's such a bizarre question because I think life is hard, you know what I'm saying? And we have all these storms that we go through and all these mental storms that you go through and trying to figure out tough seasons, trying to figure out who you are, what am I doing, trying to find the person for example you want to marry, trying to find a friend group, trying to build a career,
all of it,
pay rent, buy shit, buy a house, you get what I'm saying? There's so many challenging things that we have to deal with, grief, losing people, you know. And so it's kind of like a get out of jail free card to just go straight to heaven, right? But I think there's so much beauty in being on earth and being here and experiencing this and
seeing how it all plays out. That would be my reason to stay.
Really?
To just be able to see all the beautiful things that come out of life.
Yes, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think the experiences, I think there's so much beauty in these experiences, and I'm someone who feels very deeply, and so I feel joy very deeply, and I feel pain very deeply as well. And so sometimes it's really frustrating because I'm like, why can I not just be normal? Because it's so dramatic. Everything needs to be dramatic, right? But there's so much beauty in being able to feel so deeply, and there's so much beauty in being able to experience joy so deeply and so intensely that even if I have the choice to leave, I think I would probably stay. And there's so many memories we still need to build and people we still need to meet, and I mean beach walks that we still need to do and all the fun things,
sunsets we need to see.
Exactly. So it's actually quite interesting. My sister said this to me yesterday, is days pass and then we're like, oh, look at us go, one day less of my life, thank goodness. But we shouldn't look at it that way. We should say that's one day less. Did I actually make a difference in that day? Did I grow in that day?
Was it worth the day?
Yeah, exactly. Did I make it?
That's crazy.
Did I do something with that day? And it's such a bizarre way of thinking about it, because she said it so fleetingly, and I was like, you
Can't just leave me there.
Exactly. And it was such a bizarre question, because I think how we always say, like, one day close to retirement, we're always just trying to chase the next thing, or chase the next best thing, or chase the rest, or chase, you know, one day I'm going to be married, or one day I'm going to have lots of money, or one day I'm going to be retired. And we're trying to chase a part of our lives that's going to feel easier.
Yeah.
But actually, what are we doing to build that? Does that make sense?
No, 100%, yeah.
I don't know. It's just such a bizarre concept to me, but I'm going off track wildly. But
I think let's leave you with a question, which is, what version of yourself are you holding on to that it might be time to let go of?
I think it's such a normal thing to experience, and for us to grieve, or to be scared to move on, to be scared to chase something new, to be scared to grow out of something, or out of leave spaces that we have outgrown, or careers or relationships, because we're so scared of the discomforts. So I think challenge yourself to find one thing in your life that you are only in because it's comfortable and because it's scary to leave. And just, I'm not saying leave, I'm just saying challenge yourself to think about it and see how you can change that in some type of way to align with who you are right now.
You're just altering your perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely.
Have the best week.
Have the best week. We will see you next week. And yeah.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.